I assume you've heard by now. It's been bouncing around. There's nothing human beings love more than to share bad news. But maybe not. Pete Rose is dead. The all-time hits leader who, of course, banned for betting on baseball, has died at his home in Vegas at the age of 83. I heard a couple months ago that Pete was in poor health. Turns out he has died. We do not have many details, but not that it really matters. We'll hear more, I'm sure, in the coming days here on what happened exactly that led to the death of Pete Rose. But he was in his early 80s, so let us discuss the question. How are you going to remember Pete Rose? So, first of all, I've got a bunch of things that are running through my head here. A bunch of things. Arachnophobia, still water, and Ferris wheel. And we'll combine all of these things together and try not to slip and fall. So first of all, for generations, multiple generations that are a little bit older than I am, Pete Rose was the personification of baseball. He was, right? He's the epitome of what it meant to be a baseball player, and he is why so many fell in love with the sport of baseball. And number 14. Now, when I came along, he was long in the tooth and then became the Reds manager. Those are my memories of Pete Rose as a player. But I didn't see him play when he was a player manager at the end of his career. But number 14, the big red machine, no days off, the antithesis of the modern ball player, the modern wuss ball player that doesn't play hard. And it's like we had what a great dichotomy between what happened on Sunday with Blake Snell, who chose not to pitch on Sunday for the Giants in the final game, and the quote that he gave to a beat reporter covering the Giants was, and I'm paraphrasing here, was something to the effect, well, if the other team had been in contention, I would have pitched, but since they're not, I chose not to. That was the, of course, polar opposite of what Pete Rose was. It's funny, if Pete had played in today's game, they would have said, you got to slow him down. He's going to hurt the team. He's trying too hard. He works too hard. But he was a no-nonsense player. He got the shaggy hair, a byproduct of the time that he played in, diving headfirst, covered in dirt, taking out Ray Fosse in an all-star game, of all things. But overall, right, you go from top to bottom of the life of Pete Rose and the legacy that he leaves behind as he leaves this mortal coil. And it's arachnophobia, right? It's that tangled web that we weave, ergo the spider web of chaos. Pete reinvented himself a few years, it's been probably about 10 years. He popped up on Fox baseball coverage and was the most entertaining baseball commentator. Baseball players generally are boring. They are dull on television. Pete was engaging and entertaining and fun, and people really enjoyed him on television. Of course, that didn't last for reasons off the field, but Pete had a little bit of everything, right? He had the gambling, he had the booze, the sex, the rock and roll, a little bit of all that, and of course, the gambling is what did him in, right? That's the story why he wasn't allowed in the Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose bet on baseball, and now you watch baseball, and it's sponsored by everything is promoted or sponsored by a gambling company. And listen, I love gambling. I do a TV show about gambling. We have advertisers here that are gambling companies, but it's just the irony of that what was illegal then is legal now. It's like this happens all the time. Things change, perceptions change, and whatnot. But even today, you would not be allowed to bet the way Pete Rose was betting on baseball from the clubhouse as he was managing the Reds, putting bets in and whatnot. But there's a famous quote from Abraham Lincoln, I believe it was Lincoln, who said, we can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or we can celebrate the fact that thorns have roses. It depends how you look at it. But Pete had a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, and was a heck of a player and a bigger-than-life personality and all that. Now, secondly, the big question that everyone's yapping about here, everyone's talking about this. Well, now he's dead, so Charlie Hustle, he's not coming back. Does he get into the Hall of Fame? Is it now time for Pete Rose to be inducted into that little town in New York, Cooperstown? And my initial thought when I first heard the news and my phone was blowing up as Pete Rose is dead. People love sharing bad news. So my initial thought was, he's going to get in. But then I started futzing around with some people, talking to different people, and it's not a lock. Even in death, it's complicated, right? Here's the issue. There's a lot of people that think, well, it's a lifetime ban. His life is over. So therefore, since he's dead, Pete Rose should be allowed into the Hall of Fame. But, as Lee Corso likes to say on TV, not so fast, my friends. Turns out that still water runs deep, and there is a technicality that could still prevent Pete Rose from getting into the Hall of Fame. You see, Pete Rose was not banned for life. The actual legal language was permanently ineligible, which is not the same as lifetime ban. Lifetime ban means you're dead. Okay, ban's over. But permanently ineligible means even in death, you're not allowed into the Hall of Fame. So it depends whether or not baseball is willing to bend a little bit. Like Rob Manfred is a Weasley commissioner. I don't know anybody that thinks he's doing a good job. Just a terrible commissioner. But this is a way for him to get a little good karma. Right? So, Pete's dead, so we'll encourage him. Baseball will claim they're not in charge of the Hall of Fame. It's an independent operation, which is bullcrap, in my opinion. But this would have to be finessed by the commissioner. And I have said this since I first learned about the story. When I first got into talk radio in the Stone Age, this was the go-to topic. If you were ever having a slow day as a talk show host, it was Pete Rose, should he be in the Hall of Fame? Give out the number, right? Everything lights up like a Christmas tree, and boys would call up and debate it. He should never be in the Hall of Fame. Put him in the Hall of Fame. Back and forth. Right? It's the go-to topic. If you're a lazy talk show host, Pete Rose for the Hall of Fame. But having worked around baseball and been privy to baseball hardcore people, the hardos in baseball, this has been passed down from generations. The commissioner, Bart Giamatti, you probably don't know who that is. His kid still is a famous actor, but Bart Giamatti died 8 days after Pete Rose was banned for life. And while Bart Giamatti had a lot of health issues, didn't have a great diet, I believe he smoked a lot, the connection was that Pete Rose had a role in the death of Bart Giamatti, right? That because of the stress of all this, Bart Giamatti died a little over a week after Pete Rose was banned for baseball. And Cooperstown was what he wanted. Now, you could argue that Pete actually benefited more from not getting into the Hall of Fame. He became a notorious figure and had autograph signings in Vegas for years at different hotels, and would, for many years, go to New York and like across the street from the Hall of Fame or down the street, they would have autograph signings in New York. But as far as putting him in now, even if baseball put him in, to me it's pointless, because the whole point of it is you're alive. You get to enjoy it. Pete's dead. He's not going to be able to enjoy it. Who cares? At this particular point, he's crossed over the Rubicon. And Major League Baseball, they have the ability, if they want, they can encourage Pete Rose to get into the Hall of Fame. But the whole thing is insane to the membrane. It really is. And Pete used to live right across the street, well, not across the street, but up the hill from where we broadcast from. When I first started here at Fox Sports Radio, there was an Italian restaurant right across Sepulveda here, and Pete was in there 4 or 5 days a week. We always knew exactly when it was like happy hour. Pete would be in there at the bar holding court, and then eventually he moved to Vegas to sign autographs all the time, and that was it. We didn't see Pete after that, but. Anyway, rest in peace to Pete Rose, and it's not a guarantee, even in death, that he gets into the Hall of Fame because of the legalese, permanently ineligible for the Hall of Fame. All right, a final thought. I did want to mention modern baseball. The playoffs begin. Playoffs begin here on this Tuesday. And what is your reaction to the Atlanta Braves? The Atlanta Braves winning a playoff spot and losing their Cy Young favorite starting pitcher, Chris Sale, for the wild card round. As the announcement came down, he will likely not be pitching in the wild card round. So this is a Ferris wheel over the lagoon at the putt-putt golf, meaning it is par for the course. As the Braves, if we're being told the truth here, the Atlanta Braves, this is what this season has been. The fact that they made the playoffs is an embarrassment to the Diamondbacks and all these other teams that were fighting for that last wild card spot. That the Braves, with 5-6 key players, big money players, knocked out, still made the playoffs. That's an indictment of these other teams that did not make the playoffs here. But it's a Murphy's Law situation. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And Brian Snitker, the manager, claimed that Sale will not be able to pitch in the wild card round, which begins in hours, and that's that. However, there is a conspiracy that Chris Sale could have pitched, but they didn't want to pitch him, and I don't know if I believe that because the Mets won Game 1, so why would you not pitch him if he's able to pitch? But the argument, he wrapped up the Triple Crown of pitching, and had Chris Sale gone out there and not pitched well, he could have conceivably lost that Triple Crown title on the mound. The conspiracy theorists are having a field day with that. It is the Ben Maller Show. I want to talk to you about Pete Rose. Any thoughts you have on Pete Rose as he checks out here? And 83, Pete Rose, the all-time hits king. And you talk about records that will not be broken, and maybe I'm being a prisoner of the moment, but the way baseball's played today, the devaluation of the base hit, it's hard to imagine that anyone will sniff that rarefied air. They have to start as teenagers, have to play pretty much every day, get a bunch of base hits, and do that for 25 years or so to have a shot at the all-time hit record. And nobody has the passion. Nobody has the heart to do that. They make too much money to do that. Why would you keep playing? You make a ton of money. You can retire. Like Mike Trout's already retired. He's playing for the Angels, but he's retired. Nobody knows it, but he knows it.